Good day and welcome to the SNN Network Summer Virtual Event. Our next presenting company is Renavotio. It is now my pleasure to turn the floor over to Billy Robinson, Chairman and CEO of Renavotio. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and good morning, world. As my 100-year-old granddad used to say, I opened my eyes, I saw sunlight. It's a hell of a day. Anyway, I just wanted to, thank you guys for taking some time to listen to our story. It's been kind of a unique growth story since we took over from the original controllers just about this time last year. And I have to go into a couple of things that are important. We have to go into our disclosure area. So, so if you would change the slide. So, basically, as you know, we're going to disclose some information. We're going to tell you factual as close as we can. Sometimes you get out of context a little bit when you're speaking live. So, I just want to let you know that some of the statements that we're going to make, they're going to be truthful, but, they could vary just a slight amount. So let's talk about the company and what's been going on since we took over the last 12 months. So what we've tried to do, number one, is we have a somewhat diversified business. We focused on the infrastructure space, which basically is a number of areas, and it can be defined, as we've all seen from our recent Senate approval of the infrastructure bill, and then how Congress is trying to kind of reconfigure what infrastructure really is. But basically, it's the primary areas that we're focusing in. Number one is utility management. That means we go into small regions, small co-ops, small cities, and we actually become a utility company. We take over operations. We run the water plant. We run the sewer plant. We try to initially put smart utilities in or smart meters in so we can monitor both remotely at our corporate facility and expedite our meter reading and service protocol remotely, because we get information in a much quicker format than we would if it's physical and we got to go out and find the issues that are out there. The second division within the company, or the second subsidiary, that's Utility Management Corp. The second is Crossbow Construction. That is our boots on the ground construction company. We do underground utility installations. We do the meter installations. We do water. We do sewer, cable, and fiber optic has been a focus that I've spoke of in the past. Recent, we've received a contract through a national telecom, and we've started the fiber optic installation side and starting to generate revenues on that side. The third is basically kind of a vertical move that we made during COVID, which was the PPE business. It wasn't our initial focus, but through our long-term relationships that the management team has had from the past, we've been able to secure and generate over $4 million in revenues for the company. Do I think it's going to carry on? We thought things were going down and we were getting in a good shape, and then the Delta variant popped up, and so businesses started picking back up. What we've tried to do, because we've run the gamut with what I call joker brokers and all these guys that try to get in between the deals, we finally have made connections and developed relationships with the manufacturers of the products. And then we have developed relationships with the end users or the end distributors of that product. So we've cut all of these people in the middle out, which has eliminated a lot of issues, made things start to go more smoothly. And we've also implemented some protocols that prevent us or allow us to inspect on site and as much as we can prevent any type of production issues, quality issues, and there has been, in the past, counterfeit issues as well in these products. The last area is more of a management opportunity, and this is looking for particular revenue-generating opportunities for the company that as our money grows and we have access to reinvestable cash, that we have areas that we can put that money in, get it immediately back to work, and generate higher returns than what you get with it sitting in the bank at virtually zero interest right now. There's a huge opportunity for us out there. There's a number of technologies that are just developing in the infrastructure space, both from the managing of utilities to cybersecurity and protecting those utilities from being compromised, because, we've had some issues in the past. The U.S. government's had some issues in the past. and a number of other things that popped up, in other private companies where they've had the ransomware come in and take over their system. We originally were focusing more on kind of a North America, South America program. We are just focused in the U.S. of A. We're focused in North America. There's plenty of work, plenty of organic opportunities, plenty of acquisition opportunities, and we're trying to narrow our focus so that we're not just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. We're laser focused on some specific business opportunities and specific areas that are within our reach. In a past life, when I was in the oil business, this seasoned oil guy told me, said, Billy, if you can't get up in the morning, visit all of your businesses and properties and be home in time for dinner, you've got too much on your plate. Now, I'm not saying that's 100% of what we're going to follow, but right now that's kind of unique because our opportunity territory is kind of a crescent-shaped territory that's a footprint that starts in western Missouri, goes across northern Oklahoma, captures southern Kansas, southern Colorado. It gets eastern New Mexico and northern Texas. And in that region, there's probably over 2 million people and numerous what I would call mom and pop companies, very similar to the first ones that we acquired that do utility management, do underground construction. And the other opportunity, as I've spoken in the past, is the 5G and ISP. And the beauty of that is that the ISPs that are out there, most of those that are rural, have been around for a number of years. They've got aging owners that are looking for exit strategies. They have utilized the direct broadcast, UHF channels, things of that nature to broadcast the Wi-Fi. And now with 5G and fiber optic, they can supply high speed. And the government does have and continues to have programs to help facilitate the capital expansion of that area that is loans that ultimately could convert into grants based on your organic growth. And so that's one of the areas in our fourth leg of our stool that we're looking at is to facilitate the acquisition of clients or the acquisition of customers to expand our management both in the underground utilities and in the ISP. And how are we going to do this? Well, we've got a good team. We've got a team of people that have been in the engineering, technology, smart utility side, have been in utility management, underground construction side, and in the public company management side. So we have a good team that can manage all aspects of the company, both from looking and analyzing the acquisition opportunities that are in the field, discovering those opportunities, and then having the management expertise to bring in the operators that are going to facilitate and continue to run those operations profitable like they have historically when we make the acquisition. We have engineers and technical people that can manage all of the technical side, can analyze the water. We have a lab that does analysis that analyzes the water and the sewer effluent so that we're staying on top of any type of EPA guidelines, DNR guidelines, state or federal guidelines so that we don't, one, cause any cost to the client that we have through fines and penalties, but also because we're managing it, not having any that can come back on us ourselves. So that's basically our business at a glance, and I'll move in and talk a little bit more about some specific details now. So I went into what our infrastructure services were. So let me, just go back to it again. We have utilities, which is water, energy, and gas, and as I spoke earlier, telecom, which is the 5G ISP type expansion. Medical PPE, which is that vertical market that we went into, and so far it's been good to us. What we hope comes from that is we develop some long-term logistical contracts where we get some long-term buys on acquiring product that is required for end users, and that could be hospital co-ops, it could be the government, it could be large medical distribution groups, where we just manage logistically the acquisition of the product and the delivery to the client, and that becomes like a SaaS model where it's just a reoccurring revenue stream for us, and we're not going out knocking on doors looking to move product on a daily or weekly basis. The infrastructure side, infrastructure management, we continue to look for quality people that can fill in the slots, and as we expand through acquisitions, we're going to have people that ultimately take over. Now, we have a model when we do an acquisition, which is kind of unique. I went through in the 90s the acquisition craze that went on, and unfortunately, those were structured to where the acquisition team would come in, they'd have their own president, CEO, CFO, they're what I call pointy-toed shoe guys that would come in and take over. And unfortunately, the company was raised, created, and managed by, in most cases, a family. The employees were used to those people, and when those people got removed and new people got in place that had their own management style and directives, usually the people that made the company successful didn't want to deal with that, left, and ultimately the acquisition failed. So our model is that when we make an acquisition, the people that are running the company, nothing changes, unless it's a cost savings or there's some issue, but nothing changes. Everybody that made that successful stays, and for a minimum of 3 years, that's kind of the guidelines that we use. That way the employees and the people that are underneath the hierarchy are still comfortable because everything that they were doing in the past continues on in that same format, and then they can start mentoring who's going to replace him. So it's a gradual process that the employees and the vendors and the clients all get used to. So when there's a change, the guy's already been there. It's not a change. It's just a more focused communication point with that new management team. So that's the acquisition infrastructure side. The geospatial, that is the smart utility meters. We now have smartphones. When our guys go out in the field, they can drive by a house. It tells them water usage. They can see if there's leaks or anything else going on through through either the discharge in the sewer or the consumption of the water. Then we can go in and through technology, infrared cameras and other types of devices, determine where the leaks or the issues are, and then go in and repair those so that two things happen. One, there's not some contamination if it's a sewer effluent, and two, we don't have an extra high water bill with the client that's going to come back on us and freak out because all of a sudden the water bill's high. So it eliminates that. The other thing it does, it allows us to manage a larger footprint, because now we have geospatial technology that ties into satellites and cell towers that communicates back to our command center, so we can see what's going on. We can see where our employees are. We can see, when there's an issue out there, and we can allocate assets to either take over that problem, or if we're having employee problems, manage that and address that immediately. So this is the direction we're going. We've already started that process. We're not 100%. But we do plan to be over the next couple of years where we can manage everything through technology as well as boots on the ground. So we have the technology that gives us the leg up. If something happens to the technology, we have trained boots on the ground that can do it the old school way until the technology is repaired. So, let's move on to a little bit more about what the opportunities are out there. The infrastructure bill that's recently been passed by the Senate, hopefully it won't get too messed up by Congress, and it'll go on and actually funds will start to flow. Even if they don't, we have a plan. But basically, when you look at what the government just in the U.S. needs to spend to fix what we currently have by 2040, I don't plan to be out here in 2040, but whoever takes over my place will, and they'll be able to benefit from this. But we're talking $93 trillion. So as you see, a big chunk of that's energy, but also a big chunk of that $1 trillion is telecom, which is one of our focal points. Roads and bridges are some of the construction that goes on. We're not going to be building roads and bridges, but we do tunnel under roads, and we do have to run beside bridges or utilize bridges as conduit points to move the fiber optic. But water, as you see, that's another $6 trillion. So just the two areas that we are focused in is around $15 trillion. So that gives us a big piece of a pie to take some nibbles out of, that whatever that nibble is, no matter, how small, and by small, I mean, I'm hoping it's millions and millions for our company, you see the growth opportunities that are for us. So let's move on and start talking about some more specifics. So infrastructure services. So we have taken old school, get in a truck, go out and open up the can, look down at the water, put meters on the sewer effluent, the old school way, and we've been updating and changing that by installing smart utility smart meter systems. So that does a number of things for us. It allows us at the municipal plants where we're running both the sewer and the water to monitor the water quality on an hourly basis so that if there's any change in it, we can immediately fix it. Or if there, heaven forbid, is some kind of compromise, which has not happened to us, but has happened to other water systems where someone tries to oversaturate the water with chemicals, which could, make it poisonous or cause some issues, we can catch that before it even, almost instantly, because we have alarms that are set at very close tolerances. And if that changes, we know in seconds that's changed, and we have an automatic shutdown. So the system shuts down, gives us time to fix whatever may have happened. The smart utility also allows us to remotely read meters. It allows us to immediately know when we have a water leak or we have a sewer effluent issue through backup in the system, or the discharge flow rates changing, or the water meter all of a sudden running at a higher rate than what it normally would do. So it gives us the ability to move more quickly, which does two or three things. One, a benefit is that we get service business. So when we do these contracts with these small utilities and municipalities, we enter into 5- and 10-year contracts that automatically renew. And in most cases, they just renew forever. They just don't ever cancel. So as long as you do a good job, and historically, the companies that we've acquired and that we now manage have done a great job. So, so that is their, automatic revenue for us. And the other thing is that we get an automatic, or we have a mandatory first right of refusal on all work. So if there is an issue, or if it's an aging system, which many of these systems that we've taken over are aging systems, and once the infrastructure bill is approved and funds start flowing, there is going to be a lot of funds to allow us to go in and recondition and rebuild and replace all of these old systems, which will be, for our construction site, since we have an automatic first right of refusal, all that business will flow right back to us. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We run the company, we make money, we get a management fee for running it, we get service fees for doing, alternative things, turning meters off and on, or fixing lines. But then when it comes to replacing a system, which is high dollar volume and higher profit margins for us, we're the first in line to get that business as well. So it gives us a lock on those funds as they start getting allocated to these different districts. So that is the benefit of the infrastructure services. And as I said, on our PPE side, we have just tried to, rather than, manufacture or buy companies that make it, because this is a commodity and that price runs up and down depending on demand. And, what was cheap last month or a couple of months ago, like 3-ply masks, now everybody wants them. The price is going crazy. Gloves, they had kind of a migration down. Now they're coming back as well. So not to be at risk for all of that, we're focusing on these targeted vertical markets. So smart cities, utility management. And so we either do a public or private partnership. That could be where we acquire the company and we own it, and then all of the funding needs to be provided by us, but all the money that comes in comes to us. Or we can do partnerships, both with private companies that want this to happen, or municipalities, to where we just get paid a management fee. We're not buying the water system or buying the sewer system, so we don't have the CapEx that we've got to worry about. But the beauty of it is, as those municipalities or cities need to expand their CapEx, we're the ones that get the benefit of that. The other that, again, is automatic business to us is the technical upgrades, the smart meters, the water monitoring system, the automatic control systems for the water and sewer facilities. Those are all things that everybody is starting to realize they've got to have, and then we're the ones that get that business to install that. So our client base. So, we look for opportunities by associations we have with engineering firms, project managers. That allows us to interface while they're designing and building the system, to interface and be, what I would call a primary bidder on the project, and gives us that opportunity. And then the other thing is, as the government money is released, you get these IQs, indefinite contracts. So basically that means that, it's not like it's a contract that is going to absolutely pay you, but you put a bid in, so you're the dude. You're the one that gets that business. And as the business develops that contract, that government contract, the money automatically flows to you as long as you facilitate the project based on whatever you've presented and the numbers and services you presented that was awarded under. And then on the PPE side, again, we have just focused on making business arrangements with the manufacturers, so we've cut all the middlemen out. We're able to go to the factories, inspect the product, see it get on a ship, or if it's in the U.S., drive and look at the facility or go in and see it being produced, watch it go into the trucks that go to our warehouses for distribution. So that's that side of the business. But what we are currently looking for to expand our business model is, telecom engineering expertise, because as we grow our business, and I want you to think about something. Right now, we, through the Northeast Oklahoma area, southern Kansas, we manage water and sewer. So when you think about paying your utility bill, what are the three things that you're first to pay? Well, you pay your water bill because you can't live without that. And in most cases, your sewer bill is tied to your water bill, so that gets paid. And then many of us now work exclusively through the computer, or our kids, live off of the computer. And now with COVID, we can't exist without the computer. So your Wi-Fi, your ISP, that's next. And then, of course, we got to eat and other things that are important to us as well. But those are primary utility bills that get paid. Now, here's the other thing that's the beauty of what we're doing. The clients that we have, the water clients and the sewer clients and the easement rights that we have are the same ones that are the ISP clients. So as we move and start making acquisitions in the ISP and the 5G arena, those same clients we're already managing. So we already have all the information. We have all the billing information. We have a management system in place. We're able to just add on. So it's no additional cost to us, but it's additional revenue. So now we, maybe doubled or tripled our revenue model off of the utility management side, because now we're getting the ISP business as well. And then we also get the construction side to put the fiber optic and install the 5G towers, which when you think about that, the 5G is not these huge, massive towers that go hundreds of feet in the air. You hang them on street lights. You hang them on telephone poles. The average height for a 5G broadcast tower is 50 feet or less usually. So because they operate better and that creates a better network. And so because it's at a lower height, you got to put more of them in, which means more money for our installation crews. So let's move on and move from vertical markets and talk about a little more general stuff and more specifics. So our portfolio company, Utility Management, which owns Crossbow Construction, and ultimately will manage the ISP acquisitions that we plan to move into later. So let's talk about what it does. It was founded in 1962. It's a full-service utility contracting company that provides utility management, does customer service, and does underground installation, water, sewer, and then telecom installations. So right now we are focused in kind of an area where we don't really have the big guys coming after us. So we're staying with the small guys, the small utility management companies, the small ISPs, where maybe it's 100 customers to several thousand, probably 5,000 or less is kind of the cutoff to where then it becomes more interesting to a larger telecom or larger utility management group. So we focus in that area. So we're going into the rural areas. And, those people are a little bit different kind of people than the city people. And so, we're all rural guys, and so we know how to communicate with them. In most cases, the boards are run by, guys that are, that live within the area, and usually they're not technically inclined, so they're looking for someone that has the expertise to be sure the system works, because even though they're the ones that in theory are running the system, but they don't really know how to run it properly, which why we get that opportunity. If something goes wrong in the middle of the night, they're the one that the neighbor's going to come over screaming at. So they don't want that to happen. So we're that interface between that. We have it set up to where if there's a problem, they call us, and then if they don't get it satisfied to their liking, which sometimes happens, then they go complain to the guy that's their neighbor that's on the board. So that's kind of the model that's there, but we've got the record, the budgeting, the bookkeeping system, and basically every month, we collect all the money. We put together a spreadsheet and we have a meeting with each of these boards in these cities. We lay out, okay, here's how much came in, here's what the water consumption was, here's what the loss in the water system was due to leakage and aging system or whatever the issues may be. Here's how much we collected, here's our fee out of it, here's your part. And in all of these utility systems that we've taken over, they are generating cash that's going into the bank that's building for future expansion. Where in the past, because of issues they had and paying too much out to people that were subbing and doing the stuff, they were in most cases not making money. That is a complete flip, which gives us a good story to go expand our business model. We try to follow all the DEQ, the DNR, the EPA requirements. We file all the reports that are necessary. We make sure that all of the discharges, both from sewer discharge and from the water that we produce, meets all of the minimum standards. In most cases, well below or above, however you want to look at it, so that the water quality is great. We have no issues, and we're not discharging anything into the rivers, lakes, as that's where the sewage ultimately goes to. It's not been cleaned to the point to where it's not any kind of a environmental issue going out there. So that's basically about the utility management construction. Let me move on and start talking about, one of the next legs. And so when we talk about outsourced utility, it's almost like we're utility mercenaries. I mean, we are the replacement for the city guy that comes up, knocks on the door, says he's reading the gas, reading the water, or whatever. We are that guy, So, even though we operate, with our own vehicles, and it's got our company name on the side and our company uniforms, they know that we're there representing the city or the utility that provides them their services. So we go out, read the meter, we directly bill the customer. If there's an issue on payment, we're the ones that pick up the phone and call them, and, if they don't pay, just like if you don't pay your utility bill in the city, it's going to get cut off, and then usually it gets paid when that happens. So unfortunately, we have to be the bad guy sometimes, but we try to be the good guy and work everything out with the clients so that they don't have issues that go back to our ultimate client, which is the managers of the cities, the board of directors of these cities and rural water districts. So let's move on. So the other thing is that, we don't own the technology. It would be great if we did, but right now we license the technology. So the technology we use for the smart meters, the technology we use to go out and manage the accounts, to geolocate where the meters are, where the lines run. I mean, we are creating a virtual map of all of the water and sewer systems. We're in the process of utilizing drones to do aerial mapping to where we can pinpoint through using infrared or hyperspectral cameras leakage areas, both from the sewer and the water, so that we can go in and do what's called potholing, where you use a wetback truck, where you use water and air instead of digging up, with backhoes, so that it doesn't really damage the area around it. These are small vehicles that we pull behind trucks, and we can go out and drill down with water and air, get down to the water or sewer line, and then excavate in an area just related to the leak. So it allows us to, with pinpoint accuracy, just kind of how they use overseas, in pinpointing the terrorist and the enemy. We do the same with that same technology to pinpoint where we have leakage problems. Then we can fix the leak, which we get paid for, of course, and utilize less damaging equipment and be able to do it at a lower cost than the old school way, where you just started digging out stuff and you dug from one end to the other until you quit seeing water coming out or sewage coming out. Then you replace that. We can pinpoint it right to where the problem is, repair that problem, and cover up the ground in the area with the least amount of disturbance. So let's move on to what I would call the vertical move, which I've already talked about the meters and how this works. So rather than repeat myself again, you see they're digital, but I'd like to move on to the PPE side and then open this up for some questions after we get through the PPE side. So I've talked about our testing and analysis. We have We do analysis in the water and everything else. So that's part of what I've already disclosed earlier in our conversation. So, so I'm going to move on to the products that we focused on in the PPE in the PPE side. So when we started in the PPE business, as you guys may or may not remember, there was a shortage of gowns in the country. The national stock was low. We had the COVID crisis. They were running out of gowns, having to reuse them. So we made arrangements and found a U.S., what I would call emergency manufacturer. We filled that void for a period of time. It generated some initial revenues for us, but then the real need and what I would call the long-term annuity came in two places. We tried the mask side. We had some issues there, so we focused on the gloves. And the gloves are, as long as you get good product, which we have tested and inspected prior to shipment, there hasn't been a lot of U.S. manufacturing of these products. They're starting to be, but historically it comes from Vietnam, Malaysia, and China. So those are the areas that we focused on, and we have made direct relationships with manufacturers in each of those three companies through trial and error. We understand the logistics, the customs issues, who you can trust to pick the product up, to move it, what it takes to be able to, move it through customs, get it loaded on a ship, get it to the U.S., move it through customs again, move it into a bonded warehouse, repackage it, and prepare it for delivery to the client. So we've been through this process, and it's been a learning experience, and many times it hasn't been easy, and many times it's been frustrating, and we wondered why we got into it. But at the end of the day, it's generated revenue for us, and it could generate some long-term revenue with some nice overriding profits with a lower amount of focus so that we can focus on our primary growth arena, which is the water, sewer, and the ISP, the underground utilities, and the 5G expansion. So moving on, we have made a deal with Verify Me. We are implementing, just starting to be able to, we had to, again, get approval from the manufacturers, make direct relationships, get those in place. We're at that final stage. We thought this was going to happen several months ago. It's a lot more involved than what we originally anticipated, but this will allow us to track the goods as they leave, give the client an app that allows them to track the goods. When they get there, they can verify, with the markers that we put on the boxes as they leave the factory. When they get into the U.S. and clear customs, they know they're getting the same product that they paid for. So it gives a much smoother transition and 100% comfort range to the client that they're getting what they paid for. The other product that we have secured, and again, moving on to that second product, which is the Wanda. I know you guys haven't heard much about that, but they have of recent got their production line in place. We have reached out to some overseas groups in the hospitality sector, and even though, for a while everybody thought that the surface COVID was a big issue, it's still sanitizing facilities still is important. And the Wanda is kind of like the iRobot. You program it, it goes around, it does its thing, it uses a special UV light that disinfects everything, and then once that's completed, then the final product that that is being developed by the owners of Wanda is going to allow it to automatically go back to its charging station, just like an iRobot, sit there and wait till the next time it's programmed and move out. We have, not had 100% focus on this yet. Of recent, though, we've reached out, and we hope that this will become, a revenue-generating area in our PPE division. So the last part is I want to talk about is the management team. And, we have put together, as in the past, Kevin Harrington has participated. He's, well known. Joe Abrams is another participant, and, both these are well known from their TV. And then Joe Abrams, he was a developer of early software toolworks. He sold his company out. He was one of the founders of MySpace, and he's been a great advisor to the company as well. And the management team is myself, I've got a history in both the investment banking and the multiple acquisition world, and I've been involved in reverse mergers, forming companies from scratch and IPOs. And, I've got 35 years of doing that, and so I brought that to the table. Dr. Robert Mackey, he's an engineer. He was VP of Engineer at Amapage. You guys may have seen that around. He was a developer of technology and manufacturing technology that was utilized in the food industry, and he is the COO of the company and manages Utility Management Corp and all of the aspects of that side of the business. Brian Kistler is a corporate compliance officer. He's also got a long history in the public company market. He was a broker and investment banker at Raymond James. Actually, was one of the managers of the group that was within the region he worked, and he's an approved arbitrator for FINRA. And so he has again been through the corporate world, and he helps keep our compliance as far as filings with the SEC, filings with the states, everything that's related to keeping us in compliance. He directs those efforts and is great at that. Stephen Chin, he was the original founder of Success Entertainment, which is the public company we took over. He's a well-known media and marketing expert in the Far East. Unfortunately, his business was based in China and Taiwan, and, with COVID, that opportunity for public meetings that facilitated what he was doing and what Success used to do shut down. So that's why we sold off our operating divisions that were at a loss and had negative assets in them, and why we have now, as you can see from our results, in the past 12 months since we took over, we've generated substantial revenue. Historically, we've had record quarters compared to the original company. We've taken our balance sheet from a negative $900,000 a year ago to a positive 1.5, 1.7 now. So we've gone from one to the other in a short period of time, and hope to continue on that same growth pattern, of where this time next year, we're talking about the same type of growth next year that we're talking about this year. So at this point, I'd like to talk about the final design of the company, what our focus is, and then open it up for questions. So we have operational side. We've centralized our accounting and HR functions across the country. We have everything located in our corporate operating facility, which we own the facility, which where our equipment is, and our management systems for the utility monitoring side. We have allocated capital across the board, both in our growth and upgrading in the utility management and construction side. We've also invested in the PPE side, and currently have well over $1 million invested in product that is paid for, that's going to be coming this way, and we hope to, by the end of the year, have that product sold and generate revenues from the investment in that side. And we're looking for additional opportunities as our cash increases to keep that money moving, to keep it in motion, not let it sit and become idle, but into good return, short and low risk type investments that continue to generate returns for the shareholders. From an R&D standpoint, we are looking at, expanding on the technology side and the smart utility side, both in a more dynamic management system, and then also in the security side that protects those utility systems from infiltration from the outside hackers. So at this point, I'd like to open the floor up for questions. I hope I've been good at explaining where I think we are and the opportunities that Renavotio has going forward.
Hi, Billy. We've actually run out of time, but we have recorded all of the submitted questions that have come in, and we will follow up with them offline. And in addition, if anyone has any questions for the company, you can feel free to reach out to us at info@renavotio.com or visit renavotio.com for more information on the company. Thank you, Billy.
And thank you, everybody. You all have a wonderful, blessed day.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the Renavotio presentation. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect and have a great day.